tonight. Rising rent in Saskatoon is making it tough for some to get by. We break down the details of a lease involving Real District and a prominent Regina businessman, and how one former CFL kicker feels about the league's rule changes.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, September 23rd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Renters in Saskatoon are feeling the pinch even as prices drop across much of the country. Saskatchewan is leading the nation in rent hikes, and for many families, that means tough choices. Aishwarya Duda has our top story.
Rent in Saskatoon is at an all-time high, according to a new report from rentals.ca, and it's making life harder for many.
I'm on welfare, and I'm on SAD program, and I work part-time at McDonald's, and I can't really afford much anymore because my apartment is so expensive.
For some, rent hikes mean losing their homes altogether.
Some of our people that have been evicted because of their income not matching the rates that are going up of the apartments where they live.
Average asking rents in Saskatchewan have jumped 25% in the last 2 years. The province leads the nation in rent increases, while most major Canadian cities have seen prices fall for nearly a year.
If you see those apartments, they are pretty much like 50 years old apartments, $1,300 for these kinds of apartments. And I think it's not worth it.
Kumar says the high rent also makes it tough for him to save for a car.
The best option I have is to do two jobs, and then maybe I'll manage like my hours. Like one job I'll do 8 hours, and then the other job I'll do 4 or 6 hours a day.
Housing advocates say the answer is more affordable units, and the Saskatoon Open Door Society is doing just that, with plans for a 112-unit development downtown.
It's a basic formula of supply and demand in that sense. And so we are very excited. We are on a journey to build what we're calling the Welcome Place.
The project will include everything from studios to 4-bedroom family units with on-site childcare and employment training. If it gets funding, the plan is to open by 2027. Meanwhile, the NDP has been calling for rent control to give some temporary relief to tenants. But the province has previously said that would backfire, killing construction and worsening the housing shortage. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A Moose Jaw man has died while on a wait list for supportive housing. The manager of a housing program in the city confirmed the news to CBC. The manager with Square One won't identify the man, but he says he was living in his vehicle and that staff from Square One had recently assessed the man and put him near the top of their wait list. He apparently died in hospital last week. The NDP held a news conference Tuesday to raise concerns about homelessness.
Square One's supportive housing program is operating at capacity, with 36 people housed and 50 individuals on the wait list. People are working harder than ever and still falling behind. When seniors, our young people, or anybody slips through the cracks, support should be there to help them get themselves back on their feet.
In a statement, the government shared condolences with the man's family and friends. It says it continues to invest in services to address homelessness. 2 former Saskatoon cops who were fired earlier this month are appealing their dismissals. The 2 members of the elite tactical team were fired following internal and external investigations. CBC News first reported they involved an alleged assault on a junior officer and the presence of an outlaw motorcycle gang member at a hot tub party at one of the officers' homes last year. The 2 officers join a special constable who is also appealing their firing over the same incident. Earlier this year, prominent Regina businessman Sean Semple convinced City Council to sign off on a lease at Regina's exhibition grounds. The premium sports bar and music venue could be there for the next 90 years. And Alexander Kwan has more details now on what led to the decision.
When Sean Semple, the man behind the Brandt group of companies, opens what he has called Regina's House of Blues at this spot right behind me, the hope is that it will serve as an anchor tenant for a cash-strapped and scandal-plagued Regina Exhibition Association Limited, or REAL. Semple has previously told City Council the proposed lease wasn't a deal.
This is Class D warehouse. That is the market rate. There is no subsidy on that, and at the end of the day, that's the best I can do.
But the lease doesn't seem to match Semple's words, and we know that because we now have a copy of the document. It shows that REAL could be losing out on tens of millions of dollars on rent over the next 90 years. The lease starts at $6 per square foot, and with a space of 52,000 square feet, that means REAL is set to receive just over $300,000 per year. According to Collier's, the average industrial rental rate in Regina in the first quarter of 2025 was nearly double the rate Semple is getting. The rate will increase by $1 every decade and will cap at $10 a square foot. According to REAL, the city played no role in the negotiation, and it was negotiated through REAL's administration.
It is, in fact, directly aligned with the direction set by City Council and its motion calling for a new sustainable business model at REAL.
Regina's mayor says this is about trust between council and REAL's board.
The board is in place to really vet out the details on the campus, and then from council, we really need to look at the broader city perspective.
Council signed off on the lease once they were presented with a take-it-or-leave-it deal by Semple. One councillor who voted against the lease says that was for a simple reason.
People want a win. REAL needs a win.
Sarah Turnbull serves as a non-voting member on REAL's board of directors, and she admits the first time she saw the full lease was when CBC provided her with a copy.
This lease rate doesn't seem right to me. We need to get a commercial real estate realtor to come represent us and negotiate a rate.
But that never happened, and now this lease is set to outlive this council and many more to come. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
After years of discussion, Regina Public Library says it is one step closer to redeveloping its downtown central branch. Trustees have voted in favor of posting a request for qualifications. In other words, that's the first stage in finding a developer to take on the long-awaited project. Developers will be invited to submit proposals early next year.
It took us some time to get financing in place through City Council, and so now this is the first step in really reaching out to developers and saying, okay, we're ready for your ideas. We're ready to see what you think you can build us.
The Central Branch first opened in 1962. The building is in need of extensive repairs that could cost millions of dollars. A final decision is expected to be made by next summer. The branch will remain downtown, but whether it's an entirely new building, a major renovation, or a shared development is still up in the air. Dozens of students in Alberta skipped class to rally at the legislature, calling for smaller class sizes and better pay for teachers.
Changed my life. I think if I didn't have the teachers that I did have growing up, I would be a completely different person. Honestly, I really loved the one-on-one I kind of had with teachers growing up, especially in elementary class. Nowadays, it's much harder to actually even talk to your teacher because there's 35 students in a class, and it's extremely difficult to keep up even because they're moving so fast they don't have time to talk to you privately.
The government says its latest contract offer includes thousands of new teaching jobs and a 12% wage increase over 4 years. Tensions remain high for this school year with new provincial policies, including a ban on certain school library books deemed sexually explicit. The teachers' union is locked in tense negotiations, warning schools they could walk off the job if no deal is reached by October 6th. The federal government has dropped 2 of its legal challenges against U.S. duties imposed on Canadian softwood lumber. The U.S. Commerce Department announced last month it would raise duties on lumber to more than 20%, nearly tripling the previous amount. Officials there accused Canada's softwood industry of violating anti-dumping rules. Global Affairs Canada says while these 2 legal challenges have been dropped, it is still pursuing 6 others. Medical experts have debunked U.S. President Donald Trump's claim on Monday, where he linked autism to the use of Tylenol during pregnancy. Health Canada says there's no conclusive evidence to connect it to the disorder. It says acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, is safe and effective for relieving pain and reducing fever when used as recommended, adding that when used appropriately, its benefits outweigh its risks, and that the drug has been used safely and effectively for decades in Canada and internationally. Well, another gorgeous day for a walk along the river in Saskatoon. The weather still very much feeling like summer, and it is so warm, in fact, even some of the trees haven't gotten the memo that we're into fall now. Their leaves completely green still in some places. And it is only getting warmer from here. Weather specialist Riley Lachuk has a look at our forecast when we come back. Stay with us. Well, the CFL is moving the goalposts literally when it comes to gameplay in the coming seasons. As we've been telling you this week, the league has introduced a raft of rule changes aimed at making the game flow better and more enjoyable for fans to watch. One of those rules involves moving the uprights, or goalposts, to the back of the end zone, while also shortening the end zone and playing field. For his thoughts on this, we have reached Luca Conji. He is a former CFL kicker who played with the Saskatchewan Roughriders from 2006 to 2011. Luca, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So what do you think of the rule change to move the uprights back?
Honestly, for the most part, I'm generally aligned and okay with the rules. We'll see how the game plays out. I think it ultimately will reduce and eliminate some of the plays, but from a kicking perspective, the reality is 50-yard field goal is a 50-yard field goal, and so that's not going to change at all. I think some of the changes that will be impacted is more actually on some of the other components. So, for example, field goal returns, that's going to be pretty much completely eliminated from the game, which is one of the more exciting plays that can happen when you miss a long field goal. The potential return that could happen that typically does result in a larger return because of the imbalance of the alignment and the faster returners on the other end. So there's some other changes that are going to be impacted. If you think about the rouge, so you're not getting the single point after a missed field goal, which honestly I'm okay from that perspective, but it does impact your thinking and decision making as it pertains to your field goal making. For example, we would have a play where we would, if you were tied, we had a play that we would practice. Now, we never actually executed in a real game, but you would have a play where you would aim the field goal out of bounds versus kicking it through the uprights, because you do have a risk of hitting the goalpost, which would essentially result in 0 points, continue tie game, versus kicking out of bounds, more certainty that you get at least the single point. So there's certain nuances in a game that are going to be eliminated. Some are going to be okay. Some is going to be, let's see how it all plays out at the end of the day.
So that's in terms of field goals and the goalpost, but I'm wondering in terms of, a perspective from a kickoff, will that shorter playing field have an impact on how kickers go about that?
At the end of the day, you're still going to try to hammer it as deep as possible when it comes from a kickoff perspective. It'll be interesting to see, like, again, from a returning perspective, how that will impact the number of returns that are happening. Hopefully it still will continue to be an exciting return game. And I think it will be, but, we'll see how it all plays out. The thing about coaches, they're very creative. So they're going to figure out ways to maximize the rules, right? And so some of the things are a little bit unknown until you actually do it and run it. And you'll see game strategies evolve along with the rules.
Well, kind of on that note, Luca, I'm wondering if you think, this is going to improve the overall game, make it more enjoyable for fans to watch, as the CFL has pointed out.
When you think about the overall rules themselves, I do think generally that they will improve the game. And I think it's okay to try certain things. But, obviously you don't want to lose the essence of the Canadian game. And I don't think we are necessarily, right? I think you still have the Canadian ratio. You still have the 65-yard field, the play clock. I know it's modifying a bit. So we'll see what that plans out, because I was listening to the commissioner around, what the final 3 minutes will look like. And you hope that doesn't hurt the final 3 minutes, because I think that's, that would be a detriment, right? If all of a sudden the game clock changes, the number of possessions that are happening in the final 3 minutes, you're going to lose that excitement that comes in the Canadian game where, anything can happen. Any comeback is kind of possible, so to speak. You don't want to lose that. That to me is one of the benefits of this game over the American game. But, aside from that, I do think fundamentally a lot of the core content, the core rules that make the Canadian game special are still there and intact. So I think the commissioner's done a good job balancing between trying to push the envelope, making rule changes to kind of change the game, but also maintain the core essence of what makes the Canadian game exciting. Proof will be in the pudding, as they say, once it comes out and changes are rolled out, and we'll see how it all ends up being in terms of, the end result, and hopefully it results in a positive change.
Okay, Luca, it's good to hear from you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Luca Conji is a former CFL kicker who played with the Saskatchewan Roughriders from 2006 to 2011. And the rule changes were a topic of conversation at Riders practice on Tuesday. Kicker Brett Lowther, who also serves as first vice president of the CFL Players Association, shared his thoughts.
At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what I think. I was kind of middle ground and everything. I thought there was some really good stuff that made sense and some other things that maybe you thought you'd keep more Canadian and keep in the game. But at the end of the day, you got to let them do their job. And if it plays out and grows revenue and maybe you have a big TV deal in their pocket or something we don't know about in the States that was behind this, who knows? So it's hard to really give too much of an opinion yet, but definitely big changes.
Head coach Corey Mace says he approves of the rule changes and will work to address them in the off-season. Well, you might have to double-check your calendar because no, it is not July. It is September, but it is still hot across the province. And weather specialist Riley Laychuk says we're in for even hotter weather. He joins us now. Hi, Riley.
Well, Ethan, first full day of fall, and I'm not sure we could have asked for better weather across the province. Look at your afternoon temperatures. Yes, almost 10 degrees, pushing 10 degrees above seasonal for this time of the year. For much of the south, we should be around 16, 17 right now. How about 28 in Saskatoon? And outlook 25 in Regina through the afternoon. Slightly cooler into the Parkland, Hudson Bay, Yorkton, Broadview, both all at 23 degrees this afternoon, but still above seasonal for this time of the year. It's a stretch of weather that looks like it will continue for the most part as we get into the long-range forecast as well. I'll break that down coming up just a little bit later. High pressure close to the surface, mostly sunny skies, bit of cloud cover starting to push in to northwestern parts of the province. This ahead of really what will be a fairly weak weather maker that pushes through as we get through the next couple of days. And aside from a little bit of high-level cloud, most of south and central under the sunshine as we got through the afternoon hours. So clear skies overnight. Then you'll notice a weak low that starts to push into northern parts of the province. And along this cold front dragging along behind it, could get into a few showers along with this, particularly into northern parts of the province. I'm not talking any major accumulation. Up to 5 millimeters max is probably what I'm looking at as we get through the day on Wednesday, because this is a quick mover. Because in behind that, we have another area of high pressure that's going to help really clear things out as we get through the day on Thursday, before we start to see a bit more cloud cover and a better chance for some showers for the north, at least, as we get into the day on Friday. What this means for south and central, though, is just a bit of extra cloud cover to end the week, and temperatures slightly on the cooler side. What you will notice over the next couple of days, though, will be a little bit of wind. So as we take this forward in time, as we get into Wednesday, we start to see that wind picking up in the south, southwesterly flow. So Regina, for example, looking at winds 20 gusting 40, maybe the odd gust up to 50 throughout the afternoon hours, but more of a northwesterly flow through central parts of the province, again with some gusts up to the 50 mark. And then as that high pressure moves in, we start to see the winds backing off, and then we start to see the wind picking up again ahead of that next system as we get toward the end of the week here. So single digits overnight tonight, 8 for both Saskatoon, Regina, Yorkton, Moosomin, much the same. I think, Ethan, we have a chance at 31 tomorrow afternoon in Regina. Your 7 days coming up.
Yeah, remarkable heat. Thank you, Riley. Well, members of Saskatoon and Prince Albert's fire departments took part in training near the South Saskatchewan River in Saskatoon Tuesday. It's to teach firefighters how to battle blazes that affect both urban and wildland areas, such as along the riverbank. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Sam Corbett has been the drummer for Saskatoon's The Sheepdogs for 21 years, but now he is stepping away from the group to focus on new adventures. He stopped by CBC's Saskatoon Morning to look back at the band's success.
1, 2, 3, 4!
The way we started is I'd never played drums before, and I kind of had a hankering to try it out, and so my parents gave me some money to rent a drum kit. And I did at Long McQuaid, brought it home, set it up in their kitchen, and Ewan and Ryan came over that day and we started the band like that. And they were also like pretty novice at their instruments. So I don't know, we hoped that we would become big and famous and get to play around the world, but we didn't really think it was going to happen. Winning the Rolling Stone cover contest was a real game changer for us. You know, before that, we'd been a band for 7 years, but we had been pretty unsuccessful. You know, if we were touring outside, playing a show outside Saskatoon, we were happy if there was like, I don't know, 30 people there. That was a pretty good show for us. So things really changed overnight for us with that opportunity. I got to live my boyhood dream of playing in a rock and roll band. And, you know, there's so many people to thank, like, you know, musicians we played with, toured with, made albums with, and anybody who voted in the Rolling Stone contest for us, which I know a lot of people in Saskatoon did. Like, the support was unreal. You know, I just have to thank so many people, and I can't thank them enough.
Okay, let's have a look at your long-range forecast. Now, I do think we have a shot at 31 tomorrow in Regina. Maybe we get to 30. We'll see how far we get. This would border on record territory as we get through the afternoon hours on Wednesday. Again, a bit breezy through the day tomorrow. Then a bit of a cooler one. Thursday, Friday, 21 degrees. Again, watch for the wind as we get into the day on Friday. Then look at this weekend that we've got setting up for us here. 26 into Saturday, 28 Sunday. Bit breezy again Monday, Tuesday. Temperatures remaining above seasonal for this time of the year. Saskatoon, 27 degrees. Northwesterly flow into central and northern parts of the province, holding temperatures back slightly, but still above seasonal for this time of the year. Then a couple of cooler days on tap, closer to that seasonal of 16 degrees by Friday with a high of 19. And then we start to see temperatures building again as we get toward the weekend. 23s, 24s through the weekend and into early next week. And Ethan, even overnight temperatures staying very warm for this time of year.
Yeah, gardeners will be rejoicing. Thank you, Riley. And that is our news for this Tuesday. For more news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.